Almost the entirety of the jiu-jitsu community spent the weekend hating Rener Gracie. I posted a video about the context of why. If you're watching this video on a desktop, I'll put the link up here to click, but if you're watching this on your phone, sometimes those don't work, so just click my name below and you'll see it. It's the video I posted right before this one. Now in the comments, if you're on Team Rener, you'll probably say, Rener is better at jiu-jitsu than you, and or what have you ever done? And to that I say, yeah, maybe. If Rener can beat me in a jiu-jitsu match, that doesn't mean that I'm wrong. What have I accomplished? Well, I got you to watch this, so I'll take that. But also go to the comments on any of Rener's posts about this lawsuit, and you'll see people who have accomplished a whole hell of a lot in jiu-jitsu agreeing with me. So, well, I was going to say save your comment, but you can write them anyway since all comments help the video. The quick backstory here is that Rener was an expert witness in that lawsuit case where the jiu-jitsu student ended up paralyzed and was awarded $46 million. According to Dan Lukehart, Rener allegedly made over $100,000 to be an expert witness for the plaintiff, and in leaked testimony, he said some things that angered a lot of people in jiu-jitsu because what he said seemed to not really be true and were things that were really beneficial things to say if you're there in favor of the plaintiff. But the biggest thing, not the money, not the generalizations he made, the thing that I'm most bothered by is that after the verdict was announced, Rener posted on Instagram about the case, but he seemed to post in a way in which he didn't think we, the public, would ever see the video. Most notably, he said the victim was spiked on their head. Then the video leaks. We see that's not what happened. Rener goes back and edits his post to take that part out. The whole thing just reeks of Rener saying things that are misleading or oversimplifications so as to serve the plaintiff, who, if multiple reports are true, paid him a large sum of money to say those things. He did the jiu-jitsu community a disservice and then lied to us about it, only to change his story and post once we saw the video for ourselves. Obviously, this incident was terrible. The fact that this guy had this devastating injury is awful, and I don't want any of this to be misconstrued as me saying the guy is wrong for suing or that this isn't in any way a tragedy. That's not the point here. The point is Rener. Rener said that rolling in class is somehow only instructional rolling compared to competition rolling, where you use more dangerous or aggressive movements like the one that caused the injury. Like basically saying that rolling in class is just the industry standard to do nothing more than a flow roll. That's just obviously not true to anyone who spent any time on a jiu-jitsu mat. Unfortunately, Rener was there to convince jurors who have never been on a jiu-jitsu mat, and they were told that he's an expert in the field, so obviously the lie worked. Rener said that it's an industry standard to have beginner-only classes, and because the school where this injury occurred did not have a beginners-only classes, that was a break from the norm in jiu-jitsu, which was increasing the case for negligence on the school's part. Yeah, some schools have beginner-only classes, and some don't. Having white belts roll with advanced grapplers is not outrageously foreign to jiu-jitsu schools. There was a lot of arguing that the victim didn't have time to tap before the damage was done. That might be a fair argument if this was a submission attempt. If you're shooting for a takedown and your partner blows out their knee, are you negligent because they didn't have a chance to tap during the takedown attempt? See how that argument doesn't make sense in an attempted back take and not a submission attempt? At one point, Rener says, quote, Mr. Greener was in a defensive position known as turtle position, essentially balled up on the mat with his face down. If an opponent is in turtle position, the goal is to safely pull the person to their side or take the back. There is no one goal. By Rener's explanation here, a clock choke would be negligent on the part of the attacker because they didn't safely pull the person in turtle onto their side or take the back. And apparently those are the only industry standard things you're allowed to do from there. These things that he said, and there are a lot more examples that I haven't mentioned because I don't want this to be a 45-minute long video. These things are either completely untrue or are phrased in a way that seems deliberately on purpose to make the case better for the plaintiff at the cost of jiu-jitsu as a whole. Rener is setting a legal precedent that could destroy jiu-jitsu schools. He's framed anything that deviates from the jiu-jitsu customs or traditions as inherently negligent. Did you get an injury at a jiu-jitsu school because a black belt didn't put you on your side from turtle? Well, for $100K, Rener will come testify that it was absolutely negligent because the black belt didn't conform to his jiu-jitsu standards. Did you get hurt rolling in a class with colored belts while you're a white belt? Rener can help your lawsuit. It is a joke. The precedent has been set that any injury that occurs in a jiu-jitsu school can lead to the school being sued unless what happened is what part of Rener would consider to be the customs of jiu-jitsu. Rener posted a follow-up video after the initial backlash, and he was showing how the technique that was used that caused the injury was wrong and how the instructor fucked up, as if he somehow thinks we're all mad that he said the technique was bad. People are mad because he said things and set precedents that will have real-life negative impacts on the sport. He took an opportunity to make a lot of money at the expense of jiu-jitsu and instructors and schools. He gave what most people in this sport would consider to be false expert testimony in order to make a large amount of money. He changed his story in order to do PR damage control. If you're wondering why people are mad at Rener, this is why. I was out on Rener after he started selling blue belt promotions online to people he never actually rolled with, but I think this whole episode just cemented for a lot of people that we shouldn't really give this guy too much credit just because his grandfather was one of the founders of the sport. Let me know in the comments where you stand on the whole thing and whether you're on Team Rener or Team everyone else. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.